Michigan Magazine is kept on the road by our many Michigan friends. Cops and Donuts Bakery, downtown Clare, what began as a crazy idea among 9 police officers to purchase the historic Clare City Bakery quickly became an international phenomenon, carrying on a Michigan tradition with delicious donuts, pies, pastries, breads, original coffee, and more, plus a full menu at the new adjacent Traffic Stop Diner. Downtown Clare, a winning combination, Cops and Donuts. The Michigan-made rebounding mailbox pole. Never again worry about the winter snowplow taking out your mailbox with this ingenious rebounding pole. Your mailbox takes a hit and keeps coming back year after year. Call now or visit their website, toughmailboxes.com. Remembering good times and great food, Frank and Lisa invite you to Tin Lizzie's in Mile for a blast back to the 50s and 60s when food was made from scratch, including home-ground Angus burgers. A full menu of great food and good memories await you at the new Tin Lizzie's of Mile. Rose Valley Winery, committed to making quality wines from locally grown cold hardy grapes. Rose Valley Winery on Beechwood Road, Rose City. Hi, welcome to Michigan Magazine. I'm Barry Stutzman. Glad you could join us. Today we're going to learn how to live to be 100 and beyond. Our guest is 102-year-old Hubert Pierce of Tawas City. Hubert went on to live to be 105, but left his legacy of healthy eating and his faith for all to remember him by. Then we're heading to the UP to learn more about the old camps that were commonplace at the turn of the century. Our guests are Bill and Fran Bjork, who published a book called Camps Up North, which is now available online for download. It's all coming up next on this week's edition of Michigan Magazine.
Vacation. Don't make the planning of it more than what you're trying to get away from. At northernmichigancabinrentals.com, you can choose from over 2,500 cabins, cottages, lodges, resorts, lakefront vacation home rentals, and more. Whatever experience you're looking for, from rustic to luxury and everything in between. No more rustling with telephone books. No more endless internet searches. Just one site with over 2,500 Northern Michigan destinations. northernmichigancabinrentals.com.
What's the secret to living a long and healthful life? That's a question that's been asked for generations. One thing we discovered through our travels at Michigan Magazine, if we have a question about these mysteries in life, we should visit those who may have a pretty good insight or a strong opinion on the subject. The past few years, we've been coming across Michiganders who have crossed that centurion line, living to be over 100 years old. What's the secret to living not only past 100, but also living to be over 100 and maintaining a vital and influential life? Well, when we started asking more specific questions on the subject, we found we didn't have to go very far from our Michigan Magazine headquarters. Our journey today takes us to Tawas City, to the area's Seventh-day Adventist Church, where we would spend the Sabbath morning with Hubert Pierce, who is in his 102nd year and still leading the Sabbath morning Bible study. Longevity is nothing unusual amongst Seventh-day Adventists. Recent independent studies have found the denomination to be one of the longest living segments of the world population, mostly due to their health message and their vegetarian and vegan diets and lifestyles. It's also amazing to note that Seventh-day Adventism officially began as a denomination here in Michigan, the roots forming in the Battle Creek area back in the 1800s. On this Saturday morning, we found Hubert busy greeting church members as we walked through the door. The morning progressed swiftly with Hubert leading the Bible study, then lending a hand during the services as an elder. Following services and prior to the fellowship meal, we got the chance to talk with Hubert about his life. Hubert, it's a pleasure meeting you.
Glad to meet you too, Barry.
Yes. Now, how old are you now, Hubert?
I'm 102.
Wow. And what's so interesting about this is that you're still very active, in the church and in life in general. Now, the biggest question I think I have is, what's your secret to being so active and involved?
Well, I always say the Lord is to blame.
Oh?
He's been good to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't deserve it, but he's been good to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a vegetarian now and haven't been all my life. But anyway, the Lord has just been good to me. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Now you say that you haven't been a vegetarian all your life.
No.
What was the turning point? Do you remember what?
Well, years ago, we never thought of, there wasn't much said about not eating meat, you
mm-hmm.
know. We always ate clean meats, and there was no question about it. until it just seems like the last 50, 60 years, you know, then
Mm-hmm.
it began to seem like it began to show up more.
Now, does longevity run in your family? I mean, do you have people in your family who live a long
Well,
time?
I'll tell you, there was 9 in our family. My mother and father, and then we had 8 boys, and there was 1 girl. We always used to say there was 8 brothers, and we all had a sister.
Yeah.
And I had 1 brother. I just lost 1 brother, You perhaps have heard of him.
Was he your older brother?
He was my next older than me. See, I'm the last one on the totem pole.
Oh, okay.
And he was next, and he lived to be 104 in about 6 months. And then I had 1 other brother that lived to be 96, and 1 brother that lived 90 years old. And all of the rest of them were all down the line from that, you know, in their 80s and like that. My sister died young. I think she was in her, probably in her 60s or 70s.
Have you always lived in the Tawas area, or what
No,
was your
I've
background?
lived in the Tawas area about 33 years.
Okay.
And then I lived here once during the Depression for a couple of years. So about 35 years I've lived in this neighborhood. But
Let's go back in time. What was your profession? What did you do for a living in
I
your
was
young
a
days?
builder.
A builder, okay.
Yeah, I was a builder, carpenter, and also a mason. We done mason work, and back in the older days, you know, you done everything. You laid the foundation, you built the house, and you done the electrical work and the plumbing and everything else.
Hubert's past as a carpenter and builder blended into his selfless work within the church, assisting in building churches when the need was there. Hubert told us it's one of those things that he felt made his work on earth necessary. As we visited more, we found the church was always a part of Hubert's life. He fondly reminisced with us about his earliest recollections of services being held in his home.
Our church at Mile was started right in our house. Right in our house. There was itinerary preachers that come through. One was a call porter and the other was a preacher. And they used to set up their big charts right in our living room and preach.
Wow.
And then we'd have Sabbath there, have our Sabbath school and church right in our living room.
One thing about Hubert that really means a lot to me is that if I ask him to do something for others, he's always willing. He made visits even to a nursing home here in town, and they were surprised because they thought he was supposed to be in the home, but he was living on his own, driving, you know, and Hubert's always willing to serve people. I think that adds to his longevity, his faith in God, but his willingness to serve, you know, and to be a positive attitude. He's 102 years old. He's the oldest active elder, I believe, in the North American Division, United States.
Now, how long have you been in Tawas?
I've been in Tawas just about, well, now I'm going on my 6th year.
Okay, now what was your first impression when you saw
Well,
did you have any first
I was sort of a
impressions?
little surprised that he was still driving. That was a surprise.
Okay.
And he was 96 years old or something like that, 97.
Just a youngster still, yeah.
Yeah, just a youngster. And then to find out he was the head elder, I said, wow. I said, he must have some good sermons. But he retired from that aspect of being an elder some time ago. But I was sort of surprised to see him, how active he is. His mind is sharp, still drives, you know. And one thing that impressed me was that he was always a person, and he still is a person, that is there to serve and help other people.
The morning we spent with Hubert, we also had the opportunity to talk with his daughter Connie, who told us of many fond memories growing up in the Pierce household. Because of time limitations, we'll have to continue this extraordinary story. But at this point, here's what we've learned on how to live beyond 100 according to Hubert Pierce. Love and live for the Lord, Have a giving, unselfish heart to those around you. Give more than you receive. Eat right. Keep active on the things that are important to you and your family. As far as eating vegetarian, we found that Hubert limited himself to 2 meals a day and enjoyed that time immensely. We just had to ask him what his favorite dish was.
I don't know. We just, I like mashed potatoes and gravy.
Well, at the church potluck that day, Hubert made the point of bringing his favorite dish, which we found delicious. We hope you'll join us on the future edition of Michigan Magazine as we explore more wonderful stories about Hubert and his family here on Michigan Magazine. Michigan Magazine is being brought to you in part by Jerry's Joint in West Branch, and with the best burgers in town. Jerry's has a full menu, but when you order the burgers steaming hot, they're made the way you like it. Stacked high, made to order. Add fries, and you've got a complete meal. Jerry's Joint of West Branch, home of the best burgers in town. Clemex Sales and Service on Mapes Road, west of Mile, your complete recreational vehicle sales and service connection. Visit their beautiful showroom of new and pre-owned ATVs, lawnmowers, power equipment, snowmobiles, utility vehicles, and more. Clemex Sales and Service is also the home of the American-made Victory motorcycle line on display at Clemex on Mapes Road, Mile. Discount Foods, downtown Mile. Find national name brand foods and merchandise at sharply discounted prices. Shop the smart way and please the family without breaking the budget. Discount Foods, downtown Mile. Have fun with your photos at Rose City Drug. In the photo department, get fast processing and have fun by creating unique digital photo gifts on site or online. Save those precious memories at Rose City Drug, 2640 North M33 Rose City, or online. The love of nature is within the soul of every Michigan citizen. In the more desolate areas of the state, it can literally surround you with all that is natural and good. The love of the outdoors and nature has been handed down from generation to generation by those that pioneered the Michigan wilderness. In the latter part of the 1800s and into the early 1900s, this love of the outdoors became even more evident as people sought to escape into the Michigan woods into their own little camps, far from the increasing hustle and bustle of civilization. On this edition of Michigan Magazine, we find ourselves deep in the Hiawatha National Forest at the site of one of these early hunting camps, now deteriorating as nature reclaims the space that will always be rightfully hers. Here in the solitude of the Upper Peninsula Wilderness, we revisit this site, one of many that are being reclaimed by nature, with UP author William Bjork. Bill's life lately has been dedicated to these wilderness camps. With his latest book, The Camps Up North, Bill and his wife Fran have documented this history in the woods with stories of the life and times of several of these deserted camps.
This is part of the Milliken camps, dating back to at least in the early 20s.
My goodness.
They used to come up and do their fishing and so on.
That's what I was going to ask you when we say camps. What do we mean? Kind of a recreational camp, a camp for the family, or a combination of everything? Or?
In the UP, it seemed to evolve. It was a family thing. If you look back into the history of the early immigrants when they came here in the 1850s, 1860s, and so on, camps were extremely important. It was part of their recreational pastime. When they weren't working, they were out at some type of a camp. A lot of them were old lumber camps that were reconverted and so on. And they picked blueberries, they fished, and they hunted, and they recreated. Mm-hmm. So it was a common place. In the UP, especially the central UP, was company-owned land, but was left open for the people to use, and a lot of them kind of squatted land. They went into an area like this, and they found a creek that they could fish and so on. It was a good place for water for the horses and so on. They cut the timber down, and they made a camp, and it was just a place to hang out. There some have been taken care of by families and friends and so on, and they've been in some cases in the same families for 100 years, and they've really taken good care of them. Others are like this that have been left go and slowly disappear, and of course the winters up here are kind of tough, and the roof goes first, and you can see what's happening with this one.
Oh, yes.
Soon the sidewalls cave in and it's gone, so the memories are gone as well.
Oh, but you're trying to keep them pretty well preserved in this book you've got here, the camps. How do you really say the title? Camps?
The Camps Up North.
Okay.
Kind of a play on the UP, I guess. And
right. And it's really a unique history. I mean, your father was a pretty good outdoors man, right? Did he take advantage of any of these type of camps back then? Or?
Yes, he spent a lot of time at, especially North Star and Camp Weasel and some of the camps that are in there. he was born in 1902, and so during the Depression he was at a right age to be out on his own and single. And they used to spend many parts of the winter, in some cases the entire winter, out there trapping and hunting and living off the land. So as a youngster growing up, I was just enthralled with these stories that him and his brother talked about, that days years ago, as everybody hears, you know, in the 10s and the 20s and 30s, when they spent time out there. And it was very exciting, very interesting for a young boy growing up listening to. So I think this is why I followed up on it, and found that a lot of the camps as we visited were gone. You might just find a mound or a few logs left, and so I wanted to capture that a little bit, and before it was completely lost.
That's a big project you had on your mind there. I mean, doing the research and finding the material available. What avenues did you go through to find the unique stories that we have here?
The funny thing is, there was one camp, the original camp that we talked about was Camp North Star. And Camp North Star is one of the first ones in the book, and one that my dad talked about a lot. And I wrote a story about Camp North Star and sent it into Marquette Monthly out of Marquette, Michigan. And they ran a publication on it, and I got a response back from a couple in Ishpeming that had quite a few photos. A friend of theirs was an amateur photographer, and he had taken many photos of the old camps, and when he died he had left these photos to this family. So she read my article and called me and said, if you would like to, you can come over and take a look. And it was just beyond belief. I never thought I'd ever see some of these camps that my dad had talked about, because they were already gone. And they had photos of 40 or 50 different camps, some I had never even heard of in that particular area. So it really worked out well. It really made the book, because the book obviously you can talk about these old camps, but unless you have photos of them, it really doesn't mean
these photos too are really just priceless photos. They're slices of life, and you can see how much fun and just how much it may have meant to these people that took advantage of them way back then. And then the process just kind of snowballed. I mean, one person tells you of other photos and things of that sort.
There isn't much written on it, and I guess that's why I wanted to put something down and record the history. But you talk to one individual and they say, well, you've got to talk to so-and-so because he really spent a lot of time out there, as she did. And then we got together, and one time we had a session where we had 6 or 8 people that were in their 80s, late 80s in some cases, and in some cases older than that, but they really vividly recall the times that they spent in the camps, you know, when they were young. And you could just see their faces light up when they talked about it. They can remember that like it was yesterday, and they remember names, and they remember the horses, and they remember all the occasions, and it was very enjoyable to do.
I see some of these photos as not only the summer months that they were out there, that they took advantage of it, and then the winter months, and back then I think there was a little more snow coming down back in the wilderness back then. Or is it still like that up in the UP?
Well, it's still like that in the UP. That hasn't changed. That's one thing that hasn't changed.
Oh boy, 1928, the old Fords and the old vehicles, and a lot of neat things that people just have memories of that are going to be held for posterity in books like this. You've got another one probably underway now, or what?
My wife and I, since it's a team effort, Birch Tree Enterprises is her and I, and I do the writing essentially. I do it all in longhand. I'm not the typist at all. If I did, the book would still be in the works.
I've been encouraging him to write for many years because I knew he had the talent, and he just didn't have the time. Raising a family and working and so on.
Sure.
But once he sat down, and we just went with it.
When you laid it out, I bet you were drawn back into these days.
Yes,
it's amazing. So. And the pictures, I mean, they tell stories themselves.
Well, they sure do, yes.
It kind of takes you back, and it puts you right back into the wilderness like we're here today. And it's a beautiful day here. It's a fall day, and we've got a little creek running by here. Pretty much the cabins or the camps were near water sometimes, mostly, or...
Well, you needed a water source, both for people, obviously. We didn't have wells, didn't have electricity, and horses had to drink.
That's right.
So that was always a priority, and in almost every camp that we located was near water. It was a spring or a creek or a river.
Is this a retirement project?
This is a retirement project. Actually, it's a long story, but this is the second effort, I guess. We did write a book, a manuscript, about my family's history from their coming over from Sweden in 1903 to the United States and working the iron mines in the Ishpeming area and so on. in waiting for that, we started on this project, and we thought, well, if we could find 10 or 12 of the camps out there, we'd be very happy. And we ended up with probably about 45, because the more research you did, the more camps you found out about, the camps that are no longer there. But people say, well, you do remember this camp or that camp, and they would go into a dissertation on it, and in some cases we found photos of them, so we were able to verify all that information.
Oh boy!
So it was very enjoyable. Time consuming because you're talking to people all the time and interviewing people, but priceless, I think, in the friendships that you make. And
oh yeah, I'll bet. We were truly grateful that day as we returned to Bill and Fran Bjork's home and office on the shores of Lake Superior. As we strolled the stony beach, we continued our conversation and realized just how fortunate we were to have Michiganians like Bill and Fran to document these unique slices of Michigan history that would otherwise be forgotten. Our thanks to the Bjorks for their great hospitality and dedication to preserving these priceless pieces of Michigan past. That's all the time we've got for this edition. We'll check in with you right here next week on RFD or online at MichiganMagazine.com. Y'all have a great week, and we'll see you here next week. We'd like to thank all those that help keep Michigan Magazine on the road. Randy's Restaurant and Bakery, downtown Rose City. Freshly baked daily. Cookies, breads, pastries, donuts, homemade pies, and more. Randy's has a full menu to tackle the heartiest appetite. Hale Hardware, your do-it center in Hale, Michigan. Much more than a regular hardware store, providing everything you need for whatever your project is, along with a knowledgeable sales staff to get her done. Serving Northern Michigan since 1946. Hale Hardware, south of M65 at Ainsley in Hale. The Art of Amalia Jonas is at the art store near Lupton, Michigan. Stop by her gallery or visit her online to purchase that perfect masterpiece or sign up for private lessons. Begin your journey into the world of art by capturing the inspiration around you under the personal direction of Amalia Jonas at the art store. Cops and Donuts Bakery, downtown Clare, a winning combination. Cops and Donuts.